People, what's happening? How's everyone doing? Yes, I'm alive. Someone actually reached out to me on Instagram about 45 minutes after the live went down on Sunday and said, Ade, just double checking you're alive, mate. Yep, I'm alive, thank you very much. Yeah, peeps, the live just went down. Blame StreamYard, not my fault. Trust me, you're not more upset than I was. Like, however upset you were, and I got a couple of messages, you not as much as me. Trust me, I was livid for about a day. I was livid because you wait up to like fucking 3 a.m. I was shattered anyway. And then that happens. That's happened a couple of times with StreamYard. So I reached out to them and they were like, it's my internet. So I reached out to my internet provider and they were like, yep, your internet isn't. Basically, I'm on the strongest internet you can get for this area, but it's still not strong enough. It's shit. It really is. So yeah, I'm very, very disappointed. Apologies to everyone that was watching it. I know there was a few hundred in there. Hopefully you enjoyed the fights. It was still a good night of boxing. I wasn't able to do Sunday session just because we're moving everything. And you guys can see the Chester drawers have gone over to the studio. I've had to move a chair over to the studio. Some lights have gone, some pictures have gone. We have to be in the studio this week. There's just no excuses. I'm not having any from the guy that's in there decorating. He's starting to fucking get on my nerves a little bit. I'm not having any excuses from myself. We're in there this week. We're in there this week. Whether or not it's where I want it to be, we're in there. Like, there are some things I know I want in there that I'm not going to get there this week, but it doesn't matter. We're in there this week because I'm just tired of it all now. I was excited about it. I was excited for so long. Now I'm just fucking tired and I want to be in there. Let's quickly talk about some boxing because there's quite a bit to go through. We were halfway through. Where were we when the stream went down? I think it was like round 10 or 11 of Robert Guerrero versus Victor Ortiz, which started out quite well, didn't it? It started out like a fast fight between two guys that still look like they have something to offer. When I say something, I don't mean fighting for world titles. I mean something whereby they can fight. They can almost become gatekeepers for the division again, because I pretty much kind of just forgot about them. And then I was watching, I was thinking, Conor Benn could fight one of these guys. And then in the end, they both started to slow down quickly. Like the gas tank emptied quick, and then it was just a phone booth fight. And it's funny because neither of them, when they were at their peak, were phone booth fighters. I mean, Guerrero was a very slick boxer, Ortiz, very fast, very aggressive. And then it was a case of, we're just going to stay in the pocket with each other and fight. Guerrero wanted to separate himself and do more better work, but Ortiz wanted just to have a dirty fight. He was using his head a couple of times. Very, very naughty is Ortiz. I can't ever forget that headbutt against Floyd. How he wasn't just thrown out of boxing for what was the most blatant of cheating I've ever seen. I mean, that's fucking up there with Mike Tyson. No, it's not up there. Stop. Calm down, Addy. It's not. It's not up there. Is that? But it was just so blatant. Like that shouldn't have even been a point. I'm going back to Floyd's fight now. That should have been an automatic disqualification in the ring. When you think about it and you watch it back, that's just a disqualification. And Floyd was right to fuck him up after. But yeah, I actually missed the last 2 rounds, but having watched it back, I did score it for Guerrero as well. Again, I don't know what it means. I mean, Guerrero's 38, Ortiz is 34. Guerrero still clearly wants to continue fighting. And like I said, maybe he can fight the guys that are coming up, the guys that, you know, are trying to fight a recognized name, a former world champion. Let's not forget, Guerrero's a 4-weight world champion. So, you know, he's got some name value. And maybe Victor Ortiz, who thought he won the fight, can continue and do exactly the same thing as well. I still think there is life in both of them before they go and do those bloody Triller type fights. So yeah, they can go on. As for the main event, Manny Pacquiao versus Yordenis Ugas. Very quickly, Dan Rafael scored that to Pacquiao. And the reason I point that out is because we like to dig at judges. I do anyway. Dan Rafael, one of the most experienced guys in the game, scored that to Pacquiao. He should hand back his boxing card. Like, hand it back. Like, there's just no way you score that for Pacquiao. It's impossible. It's actually impossible to score it for Pacquiao. It wasn't even like they were like, "Ooh, that's a swing round. I don't know which." No. That was an Ugas round. So very disappointing from Dan Rafael. I thought I'd point that out. I scored it to Ugas. Ugas won it in the end quite comfortably. But this isn't about that, is it? This is about Manny Pacquiao and what has been and I hopefully, fingers crossed, is his last fight, what has been just an extraordinary career. Like I can't heap enough praise on him. You guys know what I'm like about when I talk about Manny Pacquiao. I always say that Manny Pacquiao is one of the GOATs of boxing, and he is. He's one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen, hands down. For me, he's a top 10 fighter, hands down. I will argue with anyone. I know we as like boxing historians always like to kind of tell stories of the guys in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. No. Let's tell a story about a guy in the 21st century. Because Manny Pacquiao, 8-weight world champion. 8. 5 lineal. Come on. His resume. Like there are some fights, especially of the last sort of 20, 30 years where you're like, yeah, but you kind of ducked him. You didn't fight him when you should have fought him. Well, you kind of swerved him a little bit. Manny Pacquiao has fought everyone. Yes, he's got a few losses on there, but he's fought everyone. There is no ducking in that man. And he proved it on the early hours of Sunday morning. There was ways out in that Ugas fight. He could have sat in the stall because he was getting peppered. He could have sat in the stall. He could have looked at Freddie Roach and they could have said, you know what? It's been a good ride. Let's call this off. But it was like he got up every single time and tried his hardest every single round. And you just got to fucking love that. Sorry for the swearing, but you just got to love that. He is a great. He is a great. I was watching Manny Pacquiao versus Miguel Cotto. And not watching it for the fight, because I've watched that fight a million times. I was watching it for the introductions. And Michael Buffer is reeling out Manny Pacquiao's achievements. And I swear it takes about a minute. Former featherweight champion, former super featherweight champion, former lightweight world champion. He literally just going through the weights. And I'm like, this is extraordinary. Sounds like something's going on outside, boy. I can hear a helicopter. That's like the second or third police car as well. Welcome to the hood, people. Welcome to the hood. Yeah, he's reeling them out, and you're just thinking, this guy is just incredible. He's incredible. Like, and I always talk about like the fact that he's fighting. This is his 4th era. Like, you know, people say you're not fighting in. This is his 4th era of fights now. And it's not just the case, because there's been boxers that have been around for a long time. Manny Pacquiao is not the only boxer that has fought for 20 plus years, but they don't always fight the person in that era. Go and look at Manny Pacquiao. He has fought the person or people in those eras. Salute you, my man. Bloody salute you. There will always be, for me, a bit of an asterisk when it comes to Pacquiao, because there was a time when he was doing things like, you know, when you go back and watch early Pacquiao fights, he could punch. It was all about speed. He could punch as well, he could crack as well, but it was mainly about his speed, right? I mean, this guy was throwing punches from all angles. Like, he was literally bewildering his opponents. As he went up through the weight classes, he kept that speed, and all of a sudden, this guy could crack. Now, that could be two things, right? I mean, you're putting on a bit more weight, he's a bit heavier, maybe a bit more power. But that's what made him special, when he went up through the weight classes and were just putting people to sleep. Like, put to sleep. Honestly, what an incredible, incredible fighter. And if he's not in your top 10, I'll stretch it to some of you hardcores and say top 15, then you don't know boxing. I'm sorry, you cannot name 15. You cannot name 15 better fighters than Manny Pacquiao. With his career, the fights he's had, his achievements, the weight class, the longevity, you simply can't. You got the big fight after big fight after big fight after big fight. You can't. You can't. The unbeaten fighters he's chopped down. The Hall of Famers he's chopped down. It's impossible. It's impossible. And again, I hope it's his last fight, because he's spoken about the fact that, you know, he's not 100% sure. And I get that, right? It's difficult in the immediate aftermath of a fight to then talk about retirement. You know, you do want time to reflect, have a look at the performance. He spoke about things like his legs cramping up after round 2. And that can happen. Look, Father Time can catch you in that ring. Father Time can catch you. You can do all the best sparring, all the best preparation. Once you're in there under those lights, it can just get you. And a lot of that credit has to go to Ugas. Ugas is a very good boxer, technically very good. Can punch. Don't be fooled by the KO record. Can punch as well. I saw it when he was landed on Pacquiao. They hurt. The body shots hurt. And I spoke about the body shots prior. He can dig to the body. I mean, this is a guy who has ticked most boxes as an amateur and now has ticked the biggest box as a professional, becoming a legit world champion. Not upgrade, no, legit world champion. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Manny Pacquiao. I like he's given me some wonderful nights, some wonderful, marvelous nights. None better than when he fucked up that margarita, that cheating little fucker. When he bust him up, that's when I became the biggest Pacquiao fan. I was thinking, hurt him, beat him up, and he just did it round after round after round. And that was at junior middleweight. Yeah, what an incredible career. For Ugas, again, like, I still don't understand that bicep thing, right? There are a lot of experts in the aftermath saying things like, obviously it clearly wasn't a bicep tear because he was able to jab and jab very well with it. But still, I still need an explanation as to what's going on with that left bicep. But look, career-defining win. And credit to him. I mean, this is a guy that at one stage in his career, I'm pretty sure was like, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. I think he was like either 11-3 or 12-3. That was his record. I mean, you then go into the bargain basement section. Who wants to fight a Cuban boxer with a 12-3 record? What do you get from it? He took some time off, reassessed, came back and fought Jamel James, who I think was 19-0 or 20-0, beat him. A couple of fights later, got the Sean Porter fight. Didn't get the victory, but got a lot of respect. A lot of people are like, okay, this guy's legit, and had to wait for his time. Was supposed to fight Errol Spence, didn't get that fight. Has had kind of, I don't want to say meaningless, but in terms of fights that propel you, not the fights that propel him. He's supposed to fight on the undercard here, gets the call, fight Manny Pacquiao, and what does he do? Wins the lottery ticket. Makes some good money and will make great money in his next fight, which could be Errol Spence. Like, that's boxing, man. It can change just like that. Just like that. So credit to Yordenis Ugas. Fantastic win, fantastic performance. Showed that he is very much a top 4, top 5 welterweight. He's there, right? He's in that bracket. Not young either, so he's going to need to get a move on as well to get those real big fights, whether it be Crawford, Spence, or even some of the guys coming up, Boots, maybe even a Virgil Ortiz. I don't know his contract situation with PBC and Al Heyman, but credit to him. And again, credit to Manny Pacquiao. And I'll say this because Manny Pacquiao didn't have to fight Ugas. Ugas would have taken the Manny Pacquiao fight with one leg and one arm because it's a career-defining fight. It's big money. Manny Pacquiao, when Errol Spence dropped out, could have said, you know what? We haven't prepared to fight someone like Ugas because stylistically he's completely different from Errol Spence. We'll wait. Manny Pacquiao's not short of a few quid. We'll wait. But it's like, bring it on. I'll fight him. Like, I can't, there's not enough superlatives to describe how much I love Manny Pacquiao. Like, honestly, absolutely love this man. What a fighter. Clearly, obviously, no point even me saying first ballot Hall of Famer because that's guaranteed, isn't it? What a fighter. What a career. One more round of applause for Manny Pacquiao. What a career. What a career. This man's won belts in, like, it's crazy. I remember Paulie Malignaggi saying something. Paulie was like, I don't know if Paulie was having a little dig at Manny, but he said Manny Pacquiao won his first world title before Paulie started amateur boxing. Think about that. Paulie said, Paulie finished his career as an amateur, became pro, won a world title, pretty much retired, came back, retired, Manny Pacquiao still fighting. That's mental. That is mental. All right. Are there any other stories? Did you see the fight? I'm sure most of you did, between Mark Magsayo and Julio Ceja. Fight of the night, easily, by the way. But the knockdown. So Ceja got knocked down. Is it Ceja or Shea? Sorry, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name. He got knocked down. He was down for about 5 minutes, and I was a bit concerned. I was actually doing the live stream at this time. And they didn't even remove his gum shield. They didn't even give him oxygen. He was clearly in trouble. And I felt like the ringside doctors, whoever, the referee at the time, everyone just dealt with it horribly. Hopefully he's okay. It's saying here that he's released from hospital, which is good, because that was a brutal knockdown. And I felt like the way in which they dealt with it after was really, really bad. All right, let's quickly get some news before we wrap. Crawford takes a swipe at Spence in the aftermath of Pacquiao's defeat. Look, Crawford and Spence clearly are going to be upset. That's the fight they wanted. I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know why. And what I mean by I don't know why is, like, what would, aside from financially, because it's a massive fight, what would beating a 42-year-old Pacquiao do for Spence and Crawford's legacy. Because we will always look back and say, yeah, but you beat a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao. That would always be the phrase. We wouldn't say you beat Pacquiao. We will say you beat a 42-year-old Pacquiao. Am I lying? I mean, look what we say about AJ when we say AJ beat a 41-year-old Klitschko who was out the ring for 2 years. People always say that. And people will always say, if Spence or Crawford did beat him, yeah, but you beat a 42-year-old Pacman. Like, you will never get much credit for that. But what Crawford was saying to Spence is that obviously Spence said he doesn't need Crawford. And Crawford's now saying that, well, you do need me now, obviously, because there'll be no Pacquiao fight for Spence. Crawford needs Spence more than Spence needs Crawford. I mean, I'm the biggest Crawford fan you're ever going to meet in your life, but I mean, Spence is okay. Spence fought Danny Garcia. Spence fought Porter. Spence got some good wins. Spence fought a legit Kell Brook. Crawford doesn't have those wins on his resume. He doesn't. Crawford's a freeweight world champion. You've got to give him credit for that, regardless of who he beat to become a freeweight world champion, but he doesn't have the wins, or I don't think the resume that Spence has got. So Crawford still needs Spence a lot more than Spence needs Crawford. That's fact. All right, is there any... Manny Pacquiao saying he's going to rest, relax, and he'll make a decision if he continues to fight or not. I hope it's a not. What more do you want? Just become president of Philippines and call it quits. I mean, what a story that would be. What a story from where he's come from, you know, the struggles earlier, poverty, to where he's then become this 8-weight world champion to then become president of his country. I mean, the country's biggest hero of all time. For him to then become president. Fucking hell. What we got here? Obviously, Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul this weekend. I was going to say I was going to do a live watch along, but I think I'm going to Birmingham for TalkSport to cover the Ennis Brown, Sam Maxwell fight. Anthony Yard on that fight card as well, so I'm not quite sure. If I'm not, I'm definitely doing a live watch along with that, definitely. Wilder's trainer, Malik Scott, saying Dillian White is dangerous, but being front foot heavy makes him vulnerable. Yeah, I guess, but with that vulnerability comes danger. Like, you've got to get... Dillian White's a massive man, you know. I feel like those type of fights just ain't going to happen. Like, we're not going to see those fights, I'll tell you that now. We're not going to see Andy Ruiz versus Dillian White. We're not going to see Dillian White versus Deontay Wilder. I don't even know if we'll see Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz. Boxing kills itself because boxing is in... And I always say this, I'm going to repeat myself. Boxing's in a position to make fights that bring back all the casuals. Like, boxing can heal itself if it wants to. I was speaking to someone, I don't want to say his name, but big in the game, and he was telling me that in America, boxing's not even a top 10 sport. Now, I don't know if that's true, but he started reading off the sports, and I was like, okay, fair dues. Like, maybe it's not. It's not a top 10 sport. There was a time in the 80s and 90s where boxing, I mean, was as, maybe not as big, but a big boxing event would do the same kind of numbers as sort of some of the basketball and NFL things. Like, you know, when Mike Tyson was as big as anyone, do you know what I mean? Boxing can become that again, but it just, all the politics and all the broadcasters and fighters not wanting this and wanting that. I don't know, man. I don't know. Have we got any other stories before we wrap? I don't think we have, you know. I'm trying to go back a couple of days in now, peeps, just because I know I'm conscious that we haven't done a video in a while. I think that's it, you know. I think that is it. Yeah, we are done. We are done. We're out of here. We are out of here. Peace and love.